All right, let's talk about what is potentially the most hyped trailer we have ever gotten in Genshin Impact that seemingly came out of nowhere. Last night on Twitter, they were just dump tweeting a bunch of stuff. We got the drip marketing for the new Sumeru characters, which I know that we were not shocked about. They did come along with all the info for the banners that we're getting in 2.8, and then randomly this just comes out with it. And you know, I was a little curious about it because we actually just got some crumbs from Childe's new voice lines in 2.8 talking about all of the Harbingers. And I was thinking to myself, why are we even going into this? But now it all makes sense. So we're going to use all of the knowledge that we know from Childe about his fellow co-workers and do a deep dive into this video, which includes background information on each one of them, as well as whether or not they're playable. And then we'll go over some other little crumbs from their voice lines in this video to make sense of what is going on here. So if you're excited, give this video a like and let's get started. Right at the beginning of the video, obviously we can see the butterfly that we use to help defeat Signora in her boss fight. And then we go to this scene, and this right here is actually Pierro, or the Jester, who is the first Fatui Harbinger. This is one who has recruited people like Signora and Scaramouche. He's actually the one who helped save Signora from herself, essentially, when she became the Crimson Witch of Flames, because the burning was obviously destroying her body. Therefore, she got the cryo delusion and got recruited to the Fatui. So this is number one of the Fatui Harbingers, and Childe actually says something very interesting about him. He was the first ever Fatui Harbinger, and today he is our leader. He only appears on important occasions. As for his accomplishments, to be honest, I don't really care. I owe my loyalty and devotion to the Tsaritsa, no one else. So here we could see that he's playing some chess, and he's actually got Zhongli and Venti's Gnosis on the board, which we all know resemble chess pieces, right? And we can see here, God, I wish I knew more about chess so I could really analyze this board, but we see here, based on what so many of us predicted, the Raiden Shogun's Gnosis is probably going to be a bishop piece. But what's even more interesting here is that the Harbingers represent pawns. So we have the white pieces on the board, right? Which right now I'm going to assume represent our current gods ruling over Teyvat. And the black pieces are potentially the resistance, so the Fatui here. Now, I don't know if like the lower ranked Fatui, like Signora, who is number 8 of the Harbingers, and like Childe are potentially pawns, and then as we like move up in the ranks, if they're considered the other pieces on the board, I have no idea. All we can make sense of right now is that it is implying here, because the butterfly is on the pawn, that this is Signora's piece, and of course we know that the Raiden Shogun was the one to knock her down. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is his voice line right here about the sages thinking themselves to be all-knowing, but we alone are wise to the virtue in those acts of folly. So we actually just got an interesting leak regarding what sages are. So according to this, sages are the highest ranks for an academia researcher. So talking about Sumeru academia, apparently there's 6 great sages that represent the finest minds and the leaders of the respected darsha. There's 1 grand sage chosen among the 6 to head academia. So right now, Pierro is actually referring to the sages of Sumeru. He's saying something about the acts of folly, which we know from the Teyvat trailer, where Dainsleif discusses Sumeru. And he actually says that it is the land of folly. The god of wisdom's enemy is wisdom itself. So there's definitely something going on there with a restriction on knowledge. And I don't know if that is intentional because they don't want humans to gain sufficient amount of knowledge on their world, but I'm sure we're going to learn way more about that once we actually get to Sumeru. So we saw our first one, Pierro, or the Jester, number 1 of the Fatui Harbingers. Now we're going on to this character right here. Now this is Columbina, or Damselette. She is number 3 of the Fatui Harbingers, so also highly ranked here. Childe says about her, the Harbingers are ranked by strength, and I have no idea why that girl is number 3. I test my skills with every Harbinger who ranks above me if I had the chance, but when it comes to her, something just doesn't feel right. Anyway, you should be careful around her. The leaks that we got about her actual character is that she's going to use the short female model. We can kind of see here, like, she could either go for like the short female, like, you know, like Kuching's body type, or she could go for like the tall female, similar to like how Raiden looks. I could go either way, but the leaks do say that she uses the short one. Other than that, personality rise, aristocratic, light, perpetually tired, similar to Sayu. I don't know, maybe she's taking a nap on the coffin right now. She does not have a lot of emotional range, even in the face of extreme violence or when saying something horrible, and she is immensely strong. So this is what we have on this character according to Childe. Now we get onto this other scene over here where we could see a couple of more Harbingers here. So this one right here is Rooster. Now we don't really have much on him, but Childe seems to really like him. He says, I don't know what his motivations could be, but he seems to genuinely want to help him. He treats him just like family. And speaking of family, Tonya and Tusa are always telling me about the pastries and other gifts he brings them when they write. So while I've been away from Snezhnaya, he's kept his promise to take care. Out of what we've learned about these Harbingers so far, definitely has like the warmest description going on here. And then not to miss it, because we do have some other Harbingers right here. So this guy right here does not seem to be a Harbinger, but instead seems to just be the one holding this Harbinger up. Now, this is the Marionette. Childe says that she always seems engrossed in her research. I wonder if those machines have anything to do with her. Anyway, I've only met her a few times, but every time she looked like she wanted to murder me. I have no idea what I could have possibly done to annoy her. Knowing that now, it is possible that this is a machine that she has created that walks her around or something. I'm not entirely sure. And now we go on to this guy right here. To me, he kind of looks like Baiju, and I know a couple of other people have been saying that as well. They just have kind of, they have the same face. This is actually a Harbinger that Yelan mentioned in her story quest at the end. That whole plot for political power had a lot to do with Pantalone. Now, Childe says, oh, now that guy has a head full of grandiose plans fueled by raw ambition. I don't understand a word he says once he starts talking about his theories, but as long as he keeps our cash reserves stocked up, I'm not complaining. He is basically the financial person in the Fatui, and we've kind of seen this with, you know, the bank in Liyue. We've also seen this with the Goth Hotel in Mondstadt. He's basically the reason why all the Fatui have a place to stay here. He's very rich and is basically in control of the Fatui's finances. And of course, we could see here he's talking about speaking as a banker, so very obvious to figure out what his role is here. And now we get on to what is honestly one of the best character designs I have seen. Oh my gosh, the second that I saw her, I was like, please let her be playable. This is the character that we heard so much about in that like kind of secret Shrine Maiden Fatui quest in Inazuma that came out a couple of patches ago. She is the one who basically takes all the orphans and turns them into Fatui soldiers. This is the Knave with the most incredible design ever. And apparently she's supposed to be kind of androgynous, which I think is really cool because we don't really have many characters in Genshin that are like that. But Childe says, look, I've got nothing against people who have their own agendas. I myself joined the Fatui to get more experience in combat, but I don't like her at all. If she stood to benefit from betraying others, she'd turn against the Tsaritsa in a heartbeat. There isn't a sane bone in her body. Really wild, especially kind of interesting because she seems to be defending Signora in a way right here, telling them all to shut up and that they don't understand the hardship of having to leave Nesnaya and go to a foreign land. And this is basically in response to having the half day off right here. So very interesting. Other than that, we know from leaks that she is a control freak who enjoys taking underlings under her wing, hence the orphanage. And normally she is graceful, polite, patient, and a master of etiquette. But the switch to fierce cruelty is flipped if the right conditions are met. So she is definitely someone who is going to be very interesting. I can't wait to learn more about her. The quest that she was a part of was just fantastic. Cannot wait to learn more about her. Cannot wait to C6 her. She is literally one of the best looking characters I've seen. But anyway, let's move on. Here we see Childe, and Childe, you know, I have to say, he looks very good here. I'm not the biggest fan of Childe. He looks great here in this outfit. They need to make this a skin for him. And then of course, we're seeing the Marionette again. And then next to her is the Captain. Now, the Captain is one of the ones where we don't actually know what number he is right now, but Childe says, I've seen him in battle before, and oh, what a sight it was. Perhaps I'm ranked too low for him to notice me right now. Well, he may not recognize my strength yet, but one day I'll show him what I'm made of. Now, this is very interesting. So we don't know who number 2 or 4 is in the Fatui, so perhaps the Captain is one of these because Childe seems to talk about him like he's high ranking. So that's kind of interesting. Other than that, really do not know much else about him. Now, the next person that we're seeing here is the Doctor, and we are all very familiar with him if you read the webcomic. He is the one doing a bunch of experiments. We'll see later on that he does have a connection to Childe somehow. He's the one who was basically instrumental in her getting the delusion. Very, very interesting guy. We could see here that his appearance has significantly changed from when the webtoon had happened, which is honestly not that long ago compared to like where we are in the story now. And there is a reason for that. Now, Childe says, I heard that he took segments of himself at different ages, made prostheses out of them, and assigned different tasks to each one. I know, all my comments are a little weird. Come to think of it, if I met my own prostheses, we'd have to fight then and there to decide which one of us gets to survive. So basically, what this means is that this guy is taking snapshots of himself at different parts of his life and turning them into like androids with different personalities. So the Dottore that we know from the comics is technically a different, but yet this same guy that we're seeing here, hence why he looks different. Apparently the comic one is a younger version, and the Prime Dottore is older, calm, calculated, and very much in control. So we'll learn here at the end that one of them actually says that he's looking very young today, meaning that this is a snapshot of him at an earlier time in his life. And then asks, where is the prime segment of his life then? And he says that he's busy with an experiment, meaning that this is potentially, I guess, quote unquote, the real Dottore that we're seeing here in this final scene with the Fatui. And this scene is straight out of Elden Ring. I mean, what is this? My theory here is that this is some kind of tree in Sumeru. And hopefully when we get there, this is something that we're gonna address. I mean, it's literally called the Teyvat chapter interlude teaser. So I'm assuming that this is going to be part of some kind of like Archon quest that we get when 3.0 drops. But this is basically the original Dottore and everything else that we've seen from the comic to this trailer earlier on over here. These are segments of himself put into androids, but the design looks absolutely epic with the exception of the Knave. Honestly, one of the best designs that I'm seeing is from him. Now we also get some interesting information right here about Scaramouche and the Gnosis, which we know has had a lot of build up since the Iridori festival. From Scaramouche's artifact set, we learned that he did try and put the gnosis inside of him as his heart, and it was just filled with pain and suffering. And that's basically what he had been searching for all this time, is a heart. And unfortunately, he put that in, and that's kind of what it did to him. And that's really where we left off. We know that Childe was saying that he's been hunting for Scaramouche and traveling, and he actually has a voice line that is kind of similar to the one that he gave to us at the end of the 2.2 Labyrinth Warriors quest, where he says that he's been searching for him, and he's basically like run off with the gnosis and then asks us what we're gonna do, which I'm also so curious about. What are we gonna do? But basically he says after he took the gnosis, we lost all contact with him. Now comes the task of trying to hunt it down and get it back. I actually don't mind. It means I get to travel all over. Wonder if I'll run into you somewhere along the way. So could this mean that Childe will also make an appearance in Sumeru as well as Dottore? Time will tell. It does seem like he's doing a lot of traveling to try and get it back, but we also know that Kazuha is on the hunt for him. Yaimiko and Ayato are also on the hunt for him. Very excited to where this is gonna go. If you haven't watched my video on Scaramouche, please do it. But basically, he is going to have an appearance in 3.2 in the form of a boss battle and also in the form of a banner. It does seem like something big will be happening in that version of the game. Now, other than that, I would be remiss not to talk about whose funeral we're at right now, and I'm so curious to know what is in that coffin, because we all know what happened to Signora, right? But the fair lady La Signora, I never got along with her, you know that. I guess there's not much more worth saying about her at this point. When you're in Harbinger, you have to accept that death could come at any time, but don't worry about me. No matter what happens, I'll do whatever it takes to keep myself alive. I really thought that this trailer was like gonna give us some little hint that Signora might come back, but I really, honestly, copium aside, I did not think that this trailer gave us any hints about Signora's return at all, which is very unfortunate, but what can you do? So basically, we end their funeral with this just amazing epic scene of all of them standing around Signora's coffin. And now just to go over it one more time, we have number 1 of the Fatui Harbingers right here. This is the Jester, or Pierro. And then over here, we have number 3 of the Fatui Harbingers, Columbina, or Damselette. And then we have number 5 of the Fatui Harbingers, the Rooster. And then the Marionette, along with this robot, I'm assuming that she built. We do not know what number she is. And then right here, we have the Captain. We also don't know about his number. Now moving on over here, Dottore, do not know his number. And then we have our finance guy, Pantalone, who is number 9 of the Fatui Harbingers. Then, of course, we have the Knave, my favorite so far. No idea what number she is. We have Childe right here, number 11 of the Fatui Harbingers. And then, of course, we have our girl Signora right here, number 8. And then not pictured, of course, is the Baladeer, number 6. So we'll kind of see if he does make his way back to the Fatui after this whole escapade. But probably highly unlikely, honestly. This is what we have on them so far. All of them, with the exception of Pierro and Signora, have a high chance to be playable. So I am very excited to see where this storyline is going, because we end with such an epic line from the Jester. Your final resting place will be the entirety of the old world, the world ruled by Celestia. So something else is coming. They're trying to make a new world here where they overthrow Celestia. And then, of course, we get the insight into their newest scheme, which is burning down this tree and what potentially is Sumeru. Now, I genuinely don't know what that tree is or what meaning it has. I'm assuming that we're gonna start off the storyline knowing that, but I'm also very intrigued on her connection to all of this. There's like some Voldemort stuff going on where he's got, not only does he have these Horcruxes walking around, but he also has this connection with her where she's able to see what he's up to. This is one of the best trailers I've seen. I cannot believe we got a scene with the chessboard and the gnosis on the table. How incredible is this? They have built up Sumeru so much. Honestly, it's moments like these where I'm like, I love this game. They did such an amazing job with this trailer and really hyped us up for Sumeru. There's gonna be so much to look forward to. Let me know down in the comments below, what did you think of this trailer? And if you are a chess enthusiast, please, if you have any kind of analysis on that chessboard, write a comment down below and let me know. I would love to hear it. And as always, if you found this video helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next Genshin video.